Hello, and welcome back to the Burnt Pancakes podcast, the podcast where we drop perfect and embrace the messiness that is motherhood. I am your host, Katie Fensky, and I remind moms that everyone burns their first pancake. This episode is a solo episode. It's you and me having a conversation about stay-at-home life versus working mom life and the joys and challenges that each can bring. So this week, my youngest son, Maverick, has been sick and has been home from school the entire week. It is now Friday. He actually has hand, foot, and mouth. And if you haven't experienced it or you do not know anything about it, let me fill you in a bit. So it started on last Saturday. He was saying his head hurt, and we had been at baseball all day. It was very hot. We were in the sun the whole day. So I just kind of chalked it up to, okay, you have a headache. Um, he woke up the next day and said his throat was scratchy and he was feeling a little bit warm that day. I couldn't find my thermometer, but he felt warm. Later the week, I did find it. He ended up taking a nap on Sunday, which is like not typical for him. So I'm like, wow, he's tired. Okay, let's see what's happening. And he was complaining a little bit about his mouth hurting, and I thought I saw like a canker sore. So I was like, oh, you have a little canker sore in your tongue. Maybe this is the first time you've ever had one, so it feels uncomfortable. Well, he woke up on Monday morning, and I thought, okay, let's see, are we going to be able to get you to school or not? I ended up finding the thermometer and he did have a fever. He had like 101 fever. So I'm like, okay, staying home today. Still, his mouth was like, I thought canker sore like. Um, Fast forward a little bit, by Wednesday, he had more canker sores in his mouth, like on his tongue, did not want to eat or drink anything. He was complaining that like the tip of his thumb hurt. So didn't see anything else on him, just his thumb hurt. It looked a little swollen and he had canker sores on his tongue and a fever so starting with Sunday, this is now Wednesday, fast forward, he's been home for 3 days. Um, Still had a fever. So call the doctors. Yes, you can bring him in today. Bring him into the doctors. I kind of suspected hand, foot, and mouth because I was like, ooh, we're starting to see things in his mouth now. And confirmed hand, foot, and mouth. I have heard of other kids getting it really bad on their hands and feet to the point where like they can't walk, they can't like don't want to hold things. Like he definitely does not want to eat. Like we've given him broth, water. He's had several milkshakes this week, but really just like does not want to eat. It just is really uncomfortable. So doctor has prescribed this like mouth rinse, which he hates, but I think it's going to help him because it like numbs it a little bit. It is now Friday, still has a little bit of canker sores, but I think he's on the mends. Doesn't seem like he has a fever. Today. So if you ever see those signs, like when I was a first time mom, I had never even heard of hand, foot, and mouth. But after years of seeing kids in preschool and getting the note home, hey, this is going around school. Okay, kind of have an idea. So if you don't know what it is, there's some background information. The good news is the medicine and rest at home. He's now on the mends. Things are getting better. But I felt like this was the perfect opportunity to record a solo episode since he's sitting on the couch watching TV and I really can't leave the house right now. I thought it would be a good time to talk about the career choices many moms make to stay home with their kids, since I've been home all week long with him, and kind of contrast that with what working moms experience. Now, this episode is meant to be an honest pro and con of both. I've experienced both, and a lot of times you will hear the debate about which one is harder and which one is better. But having experienced both, I do think there are benefits and challenges of both. So a little background in my experience. So I used to be a full-time working mom. When Ronan was born, I was teaching fourth grade. I was a classroom teacher. I did that for the entire year. So I went back when he was 4 months old and then taught all the way through his first birthday. At the end of that year, I left classroom teaching. So I was able to get a job working at what they call it now, independent study charter school. But it was basically homeschool families that wanted a credentialed teacher who could help them with curriculum, kind of keep them on track. They got a report card. It was a public school, but the kids were all homeschooled at home. So what was great about that is I felt like it was very flexible and work from home, and I was only out of the house a few days. So it was kind of like a hybrid. Like I was still working, but I felt more like I was a stay-at-home mom. Several days a week, I would have to go out and do physical, like in-person meetings, but there were days where I was technically working, but I was still home, which was really nice. Um, that ended up becoming, let's see, right after COVID, the the school and the state regulations and expectations made it so that it was becoming less flexible. So I was going to be required to um, be on a meeting every day, 9 o'clock, virtual. Um, they were making it so like I had to proctor more tests than I had before. Um, there was just a lot more regulation, and the job was not feeling like it was aligning with what I wanted to do anymore. So I think it was 2022, 22 or 23. I don't know. I have to go back and look. I ended up leaving and became a stay-at-home mom who now podcasts and helps parents with potty training. So I wouldn't say I'm like strict stay-at-home mom because I do this podcast. I do virtual meetings with parents. Um, but I would say now I'm experiencing the stay-at-home mom lifestyle. So before I go any further, I do want to make it really clear that this is not meant to be a debate. It's not meant to be a competition. It's not meant to talk about who sacrifices more. There really is no gold medal in motherhood. Actually, yes, everyone deserves a gold medal in motherhood. Um, there's no trophy for who's more exhausted and who does more. There's no award for being doing something the hardest way. There's just women doing their best in different circumstances, in different seasons of motherhood with different resources. And like I said, I have lived both, and I think there are wonderful things about each, and there are things that are really hard about each. And that's what I want to highlight today in this podcast. So let's start with the good parts of being a stay-at-home mom. So I would say one of the biggest gifts of being a stay-at-home mom is just presence. You are physically present, you are emotionally present, and the ability to be there for just the ordinary moments, that like is a big deal for me. Um, just being able to be home with my kids when they get home from school, make them a snack, knowing that I don't have to put them in after school care till 5 or 6 o'clock. They can be home in their own home. They can go play outside. They can do their homework with me. Um, they're there when you wake up, and you're there when they get out of school. You're there for like the random moments of like, hey, mom, I need something. And it's 2:17 in the afternoon. You're allowed to be that. Um, as I'm appreciating it right now is I don't have to take time off work when my kids get sick. So anytime they get sick, that's when I start really realizing the blessing of being a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have to scramble for childcare during spring break and summer breaks. There's flexibility that can feel very like a deep exhale. Like it's a relief that I was able to stay home all week. When the doctor called and said, hey, can you bring Maverick in 45 minutes? And I was available and I said, yes, I can. That was a relief. When I was working, that would have been such a juggling act. I'd either have to get a sub to cover for my class. And if you're a teacher, you know that creating sub plans sometimes is way more work than actually going into work sick. Or I'd have to see if my mom could help or see if my husband could stay home. So there's a lot of freedom in knowing that I didn't have to really do anything to get him to the doctors. It was just kind of already part of our natural routine. It was we were able to do it. Now, there's something also nice about like a slower rhythm of being a stay-at-home mom. Not every day, but very often you can do like a mid-morning park trip. When my kids were little, it'd be like, hey, it's 10 o'clock. Do you want to meet some friends at the park? You can go grocery shopping on a Tuesday instead of having to cram it all in on Saturday. Like if you don't go to the grocery store on Sunday, there's nothing to eat all week. It's like, oh, I'll just go tomorrow when I drop off the kids from school. A stay-at-home mom, you can stay in your pajamas all morning or all day if you want. I mean, I live in yoga pants. That's something I couldn't do when I was working. Now, I remember when I was teaching in the classroom, one of the biggest joys was being able to give Ronan breakfast. Sorry, when I left teaching in the classroom, one of the biggest joys was being able to give him breakfast in the morning. Because when I was working, I would have to get him up super early, pack him in the car, bring like a whole bag of his food to his daycare, drop it off. And I remember thinking, like, I don't get to have breakfast with my kid. So when I left classroom teaching, one of those little joys that I got was having breakfast in the morning. I know it sounds like kind of silly, like, what do you mean breakfast? But it was like, I finally get to be the one feeding him breakfast. So for many moms, there's really that deep sense of alignment, a feeling of like, this is where I'm meant to be in this season. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. And when I was working, I just felt like it was such a battle, that feeling of not wanting to be there. Um, I felt like I was meant to be home with my baby. My life purpose was to be a mom, and I didn't feel like I was fulfilling that by dropping him off at daycare. I always felt like I was being robbed of that like important part of myself. And I started to become resentful and jealous when I would see other moms staying home going, that's what I want to do. I hate that I have to be at work. Those feelings really do matter. Now, some of the challenges of being a stay-at-home mom, we got to talk about the other side. Staying at home can be extremely isolating. There were days when the only adults I got to talk to was the cashier at the grocery store. And that trip to the grocery store was the highlight of your day. You realize that you're just desperate to interact with people. I remember so looking forward to when we had plans with friends. So it'd be like, oh, Tuesday, thank God we're doing a park day today, or I'm meeting so and so at their house today. And then if they called that morning, was like, oh, so sorry, so and so has a fever, we can't hang out. I would get so grumpy because I'm like, I planned my week around knowing that I was going to see people. So not having that and just having to be home or just take a walk by myself, it was like, really disappointing. Now, with stay-at-home life, there is no clocking out. There's no clear start to the day and finish of the day, other than like the kids are awake, the kids are asleep. And that's not much time. The work kind of just like bleeds into the evening and into the weekends, into the mental space where you're trying to fall asleep. Um, I remember when I was working, feeling like by the weekends, I didn't want to go anywhere because I had been out of the house all day, all week. So, like, staying home on the weekends was just like, recharging. Whereas when I was a stay-at-home mom, I'm like, please let us do something. I'm so tired of being home right now. And then my husband on the flip side is like, I've been working all week. I just want to chill and relax at home. I'm like, get us out of here. There's also that feeling of just being invisible. Like no one sends you a great job email. No one gives you a raise because you handled a sibling fight like a referee at the Olympics. There's really no like, other than mommy, I love you, there's no like validation like a job would provide. Okay, and let's talk financially. Financially, it can be really heavy. Living on one income does require sacrifices. And I do admit that I feel so blessed that I've been given this opportunity to be able to stay home because I know there are so many moms that would love to stay home, but it's just actually not possible at all. There can be tension about spending money and internal guilt about not contributing. So I went from having my own paycheck, my own separate account, and I never really had to worry about money when I was working. I now feel kind of like a sense of failure because I'm not contributing financially to my family. I know that's not the case, but these are the thoughts that go through my head. I know I contribute plenty, and my husband has never said, like, hey, like, I need you to make money. But I really worry more about money than I'd say I did in my 20s. I feel like I am spending my husband's money and not my own, which everyone says, what's his is yours. It's fine. But it still feels, it feels strange having like I met him at 22 and I was already working. So for 20 plus years, I was making my own money. And then to turn around and be like, hey, can you send me some money? It feels really awkward. I loved the feeling of making my own money and contributing and paying bills without any anxiety. I know that the quote unquote work right now that I'm doing raising my boys is more valuable than any paycheck, but In all honesty, these thoughts go through my head all the time. Like, I just really wish I had my own income. I mean, I am making a little money for my business, but it's nothing compared to what I was making when I was teaching. So I definitely miss the paycheck, and I miss the feeling of being like mm, contributing and financially stable on my own. So there's also this fear about re-entering the workforce and what that might look like someday. Like, if I went back to teaching, can I keep up with all the changes that have happened? Like, I know things are so different than when I was in the classroom. Um, would I have to start from the bottom again and work my way up after I had had 17 years of seniority, kind of like being in the teaching field? Now, personally, I don't think I want to go back to teaching, but then that leaves the question of like, what then? What should I do instead if I'm not going to teach? Like, I'm 45 now. Who's going to hire a 45-year-old to start off? And then knowing like I did achieve so much in the 17 years. Like, is it okay to just start off? I don't know. I don't even know what job I would do if I had to go back right now. So there is that identity piece that you've kind of lost. You can absolutely love being home and still miss professional achievements, and you can adore your kids and still crave something that's like yours, something that you have. Um, Sometimes when you're a stay-at-home mom, you feel overstimulated and very underappreciated at the same time. Sometimes you feel like you're doing everything and yet nothing tangible to show for it at the end of the day, except like, hey, honey, I cleaned the bathroom today and I like reorganized the bookshelves. So being a stay-at-home mom really is sacred work. A lot of times it's work that goes unnoticed, but it is relentless work. And I keep telling myself that once my kids grow up and I see them off into the world, that is like, that should be a reflection of the sacrifice that I made. Now, working moms. Let's talk about the pros of being a working mom. There is something powerful about maintaining a career and having your own income and contributing financially to your household. There's independence in that. There's security there. There's measurable accomplishments. Like, my brain unfortunately goes to that dark place where every once in a while I think, if something happened to Jake, what would I do? Would I be able to provide for my family? Like, am I being reckless by saying, like, put all our eggs in his basket? And then, like, what if something happens to him? Like, oh, what do I do? So, God, I hate these intrusive thoughts. They are like so brutal. But work can provide mental stimulation that feels refreshing. You get adult conversations, you get problem solving, creativity, collaboration, and you have that sense that at the end of the day, you really did accomplish something, not just I fed the kids lunch and I put them down for a nap and I picked them up from school. So for some reason, some women, their jobs just really fuel them. It lights them up. It reminds them of skills and strengths that motherhood doesn't always draw out in the same way. Some moms dread the idea of having to stay home. Work fulfills and fills their cup in ways that being home with their kids can't. And honestly, this is completely okay. There's also something meaningful about modeling for your children that women can lead, build, create, and pursue goals. The other day, my son Jet, my middle, said to me, Dad is smarter because he makes more money and he has a better job. And I was like, oh my God, like that's what my kids see. So I had to give them the full lecture of how mom was a summa cum laude in college. I got really great grades. I did very well in school. Um, Actually, I would say mom did better in school than dad. And my husband backed me up on that. He said, "Yeah, I I did okay in school." Um, I'm like, I think I got maybe two B's in college. So I had to hound that into my kids that me being home is a choice I made. It's something that is good for them, and they should feel lucky that I'm here for them, that I'm able to pick them up from school and take them to lunch on their early days and be home with them when they're sick. And just because I am not working right now does not mean that I am not smart. These boys, man. All right, and let's be honest, sometimes work can feel like a break from the intensity of parenthood. You can finish a cup of coffee while it's hot. You can use the bathroom alone. You can complete a task without someone asking you for a snack halfway through. That structure can feel stabilizing. You get up each day, you get dressed, you put on makeup. That alone can feel really good. And it can kind of keep you like mentally in a good place. For many families, working isn't a choice that they can make. It's financial necessity. And what keeps the lights on at home is having both mom and dad working. It also provides health insurance and it's what allows for long-term stability. So sometimes it's a benefit to have both moms working because that's what the family requires. But there can be a lot of cons of working moms too. Like I completely felt this when I was working in the classroom. There's often like a constant push pull when you're at work. You might wonder what your kids are doing. When you're with your kids, you have that mental to-do list. Like I felt like I could never be away from work because I was always wondering, even when I was with my kids, oh, what was I supposed to do? Or what was that email I was supposed to send? Or like tomorrow I have that meeting I have to get ready for. There's the guilt of missing things like midday school performances, like why they have to schedule them at 11 o'clock in the day when families are working. The class parties you don't get to volunteer for. The random milestones that happen while you're in a meeting. Even if you love your job, there still is that ache that you want to show up for your kids still, but you have to be at work. And then there's just the logistics, the childcare drop-offs, the pickups, the sick days that throw everything into chaos, the financial reality that childcare can cost a significant portion of your income. Every summer break, I look at all of these working parents and I think, what do you do for 9 weeks when your kids are in school and you are out of school and you are working this whole time? Because like as a teacher, I did get summers off. So I was able to still be home with them in the summertime. What do parents do? Like that must be such a stressful juggling act of we've got to get into this camp. We've got to make sure this childcare is set up. That to me is enough to put me into a spin. Working moms often carry two full-time loads, professional expectations and then the domestic expectations. You don't stop being the default parent just because you have a job. When I was working for the homeschool charter school, my schedule changed each week depending on the families I would meet. So like one week would be like Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I'd have meetings. And the next week was like all day Monday, all day Wednesday. So organizing childcare became stressful. And honestly, because it was my work schedule, like I had it on my calendar, I felt like it fell more on me. So when I knew my mom wasn't available, I was like, oh God, what do I do? Instead of just like turning to my husband and asking him for help, I felt like I put all the pressure on myself. It's just a lot and it requires a ton of stamina. It requires constant juggling and balancing. Now, I've heard it described like this: when you are at work, you feel like you are failing at being a mom. And when you are a mom, you feel like you're failing at work. There's no way to give 100% at both. So in turn, you just fall short for both of them. And that's kind of sums up what it feels like being a working mom. So here's where it gets tricky. Stay-at-home moms can look at working moms and think, at least you get adult interaction and financial independence. And working moms can look at stay-at-home moms and think, at least she's there for everything. We always romanticize the version we're not living. The grass is always greener on the other side. We see the highlight reel and not the hidden stress. We see the slow mornings, but also not the loneliness. We see the career wins, but not the 3 a.m. anxiety about daycare germs and deadlines. Comparison is what steals the peace from both sides, the working moms, the stay-at-home moms. And the truth is, no one is getting an easier version. They're just getting a different version. So this is the truth that no one says. Every choice costs something. Stay at home might cost your career momentum, your retirement contributions, or your professional identity. Working might cost you time and mental bandwidth, but cost does not equal failure. Cost does not equal regret. You can grieve that you gave up and still believe you made the right decision. I mean, to this day, I still question if I should left teaching because it was a very stable, constant paycheck. I wonder if I'm going to regret it when I'm retirement age. But then I look at what a blessing it is for my kids that I can be available for them when they're sick or when they need to be at practice at 3:30 in the afternoon when no one is off work, or that they have a mom that can pick them up at 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm telling you, school schedules were not designed for working parents. So the fact that I can be available for that, I find like it's a blessing. I don't think my children really quite appreciate it until they have their own kids and they realize how difficult it is. But it truly is the decision right now that I think is best for them. You can love staying home and still miss working. You can love working and still wish for more time with your family and to not miss out on certain moments. Those emotions can coexist without canceling each other out. Motherhood is not black and white. So instead of asking which is better, maybe the better question is what works for your family right now? What supports your mental health? What aligns with your values in this particular season? Because no season is the same and it could change. The decision you made when your kids were toddlers might shift when they're in elementary school. Financial situations evolved and opportunities appear. Desires change. I haven't ruled out growing my business more when maybe Maverick's in elementary school and I have more time to commit to that. Maybe a job will come around at the right time when I am ready to focus on that side of my life and less on motherhood. You're allowed to adjust and you're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to admit that something that once fit doesn't anymore. I felt like my job in the homeschool was the biggest blessing I had ever gotten. It got me out of the classroom and it gave me flexibility. But then after being there 7 years, it started feeling like this isn't right anymore. And it's okay that something that was wonderful when I first did it wasn't quite right in 2022. It's not failure, it's growing. Now, this week I had two people send me an Instagram post, and they must have just known that this episode was coming and I was kind of struggling with it right now. So I want to read you the post. I'm going to pull it up really quick. Um, it said, the average woman career pivots at age 39. The average female entrepreneur starts at 42, and the average first time millionaire is 49. Women have a second creative peak between 45 and 55. You're not behind, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. That to me just gave me so much inspiration because it just felt like right now I just feel like I'm in limbo. Should I be working? Should I just totally like embrace being a stay-at-home mom? And this just made me feel like I'm doing the right thing in this moment. Doesn't mean something's going to change in the future, but for right now, this is where I need to be. So if you are a stay-at-home mom feeling invisible, please know that your work really matters. If you're a working mom feeling stretched thin, your effort is seen. If you're somewhere in between, you're part-time, remote, freelancing, building something during nap time, you're navigating a very unique blend of both worlds, and that's not easy either. This is not a competition. We are in a community together. The more honest we are about both the beauty and the burden on each side, the less power shame gets to have. So let's drop the judgment. Let's drop the comparison. Let's support each other in whatever season we're in. So, on that note, I need to get back to my sick kiddo who is sitting on the couch watching TV. If you ever experience hand, foot, and mouth, please come get some tips from me because we've been at it for a week. I would love to know your thoughts on this episode. Head over to Instagram and send me a DM and let me know that you heard this episode and share what your stay-at-home mom or your career journey is like and what are some of your joys and challenges that you are experiencing. I think the best part of this topic is just the fact that we can open up and be honest and share and support each other. So, as always, until next week's conversation, I want to remind you that everyone burns their first pancake, so just keep flipping.